Take a close-up of the blades. You can see the leading edge of the blade gets pretty rusty. It's not the same with the trailing edge of the blade. Trailing edge of the blade, if you can see it, is actually quite clean. Why is that? There are two reasons why the leading edge gets rusty like that. One is the leading edge hits all the dust and crud that's in the air, and so that damages the paint a bit. But also, the leading edge is where all of the dust in the air accumulates. So any humidity that is in the air stays in the dust and keeps in contact with the blade. And that humidity helps to rust the blades even faster. So this is why we need to take it off. We're going to take this off, we're going to clean it off and give it another coat. Here are the two screws that we have to undo. They require either a slotted, which I don't like using, or a Phillips number 2 or number 3. We have actually a number 2, Phillips number 2 here we're going to use. We set it to speed 1 and reverse. So I have my shoulder to hold it in place. Don't lose your screws, very important. Everything's off. Now let's sand them down and see if we can make them look new again. Here we have basically what we need. We have the drill. You could do this by hand. We'll use a drill. This time we're going to set it on high speed. We have goggles, mask. We also have our sanding pad. This is a Velcro, so you can attach sandpaper to it. I've got some 500 grit. We'll be using some 3000 grit. So this just sticks on here really nicely. We'll be using that for sanding. A 200 would be nicer to start with, but I don't have any 200 right now. And this is not lens cleaner, it is just plain water. This will be used to help the sandpaper from plugging up, and also when we use the 3000 grit, it'll help to make it smoother. Sometimes it helps to scrape it a bit to get past the paint that's now not protecting the blade but protecting the rust. So I have some 120 sandpaper. I've moistened it with water, and we're going to give it a work over. So when you're hanging these, do not hang it by this little clip. You see this little thing here that says do not remove? Don't play with this. This is your safety clip. You put the paper clips through these holes here. You can see how they're elongated. And with two of them, it holds it well. You've got good ventilation here, but not too much, especially not at this level, so that we get good spray without spray going all over the place. Normally when we paint back and forth in even strokes. You start the spray just before passing over the material and stop just after you leave the material. But because this is very short crosswise, we are going to run vertically. Top to bottom, bottom to top. So we will be going up and down instead of left to right. No more than that for now. We do not want it to run. We are in a well-ventilated area where it can dry in a few seconds, or a few minutes really. We have finished one side, and I'll cover the other. We do not need to prime all of it, only where we remove the rust. You can see the movement. I'm moving the can before I push the button. Always start moving before you push the button to avoid drips. It will take about 20 minutes to dry enough for us to paint the color coat. Now we're going to cover what we did. And again, we are always in movement when we press the trigger. Dry to the touch. If it isn't dry to the touch and you paint it, it'll just bleed right through your second coat. So each line should just very slightly overlap with the one before. Very slight overlap. Okay, so if you're assembling this before 48 hours, in other words, once the paint is technically dry, you may find that you have to put a little petroleum jelly, what we call Vaseline as well, along this little part here. The reason being that once your fan turns on, it's going to start to make a ticking noise as the paint sticks and unsticks from the mooring. So just a little tip if you're assembling this before it's 1000% dry. Now, one of the canisters you noticed was running out when I was painting, and that kind of gives kind of a bit of a rough surface here. The other one that I have one that doesn't have a rough surface and one that has a rougher one. This was sort of the middle the middle one. Anyway, see a bit of a rough surface. What we're going to do to get rid of that, and this is quite common with these spray can paints, to get a bit of a roughness here. So we're going to get rid of that with some rubbing compound. So I have some leftover rubbing compound from when I was doing the headlights. I'm going to try to squeeze some up here. And just about dime size or so, a bit more. And the first thing you do is you spread it here. Okay, once we've spread it around a bit, then we start to clean with it. Very nice. And you see this little hook there? That hook goes over the security hole. So that hook, that goes right through there. There's two tapes, one here, one here. This one says do not remove. And this one said at one time this side up. And always put your screws in with feeling. So by resting it on my shoulder, I'm able to move the motor a little bit so that the holes line up. Once they line up, I've got it in, then I set this so that it's about 13 or 14, okay, on the Makita, and low speed, so low speed. So even 15 will work. And don't forget to put it on screwdriver so that it ratchets when it hits the right tension. I'm just going to give this a little more because we don't want these screws to come out. You notice that the blades are properly balanced. There was not too much cancer in them because there's no wobble in our fan. Very important. If there's too much cancer, you take out too much of the metal, then your blades won't be balanced. They'll just wobble all over the place. Better to buy yourself new blades. Hi. If you enjoyed what you saw in that video, then please click the subscribe button over here. Yeah, that one. Click the subscribe button, please. And whenever I put a video up, you will find out about it. Please.